Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to thank you for being here with us today to celebrate AUC's 100 years of service to our community. I'm Zina Hleli, and I'm a senior economics student, and I'm honored to be here with you today. We'll start this special event with remarks from our President, Francis Richard Doney, followed by a video that showcases AUC's service to the community over the past 100 years. Our distinguished guest speakers will then start the panel discussion where they will share with us their perspectives on AUC's distinctive role in serving the community. We will open the floor for questions afterward. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to invite President Richard Doney on stage.
Thank you very much for that nice introduction, and thanks to all of you who have joined us this evening. It is a special occasion for us at this special institution, this Egyptian-American institution of the American University in Cairo. We were founded 100 years ago in a mission of service to humanity, not only to Egypt. And that mission is, of course, in higher education. Even at the beginning, we saw as integral to our curriculum, to our pedagogy, to the learning experience, a focus on service to others. And for some in this room, I'm going to apologize because you've seen me use this little card many, many times. But for others, maybe it's new. Our entire philosophy is on this card, and you'll see the word service is literally the last word. So it's just a wallet card to remind all of our students, faculty, and staff of who we are, what we do, and how we do it. The back of the card has our liberal arts, inquiry-based education philosophy. But the front, right below the big 100 for 100 years, Egypt's Global University, is our philosophy in a nutshell. We ask people when you come here, don't think of coming to AUC to conclude your education. Come here to accelerate it, speed it up. And our philosophy is that our purpose is inspiring, not lecturing, inspiring explorers for lifelong journeys of challenge, discovery, innovation, and service. So how do we go about that? Other speakers will be talking. We'll have a lovely panel. We do this both within our curriculum. We have some courses that are very explicitly designed around community-based learning. The ACE program, the community engagement academic community engagement program. And in those courses, people get course credit, and the courses require the students to go out in the community and engage with people in different fields. That's one way. Another is maybe everybody's favorite, and that is the student-powered, the student-initiated service clubs. We've got about 60 clubs, a good number of those, over half a dozen anyway, are totally devoted to community engagement and community service. I was mentioning to Professor Rateb as I came across the campus just a couple days ago, the lawn in front of the library was full of little children doing games and face painting and different things, and others were looking at books and doing projects. And there were some AUC students, and of course, it was Professor Rateb's VIA, Volunteers in Action, that specializes in working with orphans. I had first come to know them several years ago in the orphan bride programs that your students do. It is so moving. And when you speak with those students, any of them, and they're from a mix of academic specialties, a mix of majors, each of them will tell you that the leadership they have learned by being organizers and fundraisers and team leaders and presidents and secretaries and treasurers, advertisers, in these clubs is how they learned the most here, more than they've learned in any classrooms. And it is this that often powers them to go on to shape their lives and their professions. I was delighted this evening finally to meet Ragda Ibrashi. I've been hearing about you so often as one of those students who came here and found you brought a great heart, and you learned your life course of service to others, and went on to found Alashanek Yabeledi, which is one of the great NGOs in this area. And to think it started here at AUC makes me very, very proud. So this is a great example. The panelists know much more about this than I do, but all to say, we're very proud here at AUC that we've been here for 100 years of service to this country, and 100 years of releasing students, empowering them to engage in service even while they're students as part of their educational experience. Not a sideshow, not a nice-to-do thing, not a hobby, but something that's central to the learning experience at AUC. So I'd like to thank all the students, faculty, and staff who engage in those service clubs here and who bring community service into the classroom and bring our students out into the communities to learn. Thank you very much. I look forward to the film.
I think community engagement has been one of AUC's missions. And I think that's something very important that also people outside the university appreciate.
The advantage of an AUC is it's a very open space. So you incubate an idea at the AUC, but then you roll it out in public universities. And that is where the impact is going to happen.
When you think about the water scarcity in the region, as a water engineer, I dream, what are we going to do in the future? How my kids and the next generations in this country will live after 10, 20 years from now. And that's what makes me very motivated to find solutions for all these challenges.
There are a lot of community service clubs on campus. They're all running and we're competing to help people.
Helen is a social enterprise that supports and promotes the full inclusion of people with disabilities in all aspects of life. And it started right here in AUC. The best thing we could have done is actually be in a student environment where there's a lot of energy and to utilize the power of the American University in Cairo's name to give us a status where we can actually start approaching companies.
We're a university, so a big part of what we do is creating knowledge. The other part we do is training in specific youth leadership programs. The latest program is called Tashbeek, which is basically networking in Arabic. You're changing the attitude of a human being. And the best part to start with that kind of a thing is actually earlier in life.
BEA is one of the most active community service clubs on campus. They always say that people don't get involved much with the community service aspects of the clubs and they want entertainment and so on, but it's more on us to make it appeal to the people to join us.
I wanted to provide a serving opportunity with a fun experience.
The first needs assessment research is published here in AUC. This helped us kickstart our first program for developing people with disabilities on campus. We actually got the first 30 candidates with disabilities from all around the country, and then we actually trained them on how to become inclusive. In every program, we were supporting the community outside AUC to be developed to the top-notch kind of training.
In Egypt, we have a big urbanization problem. We have a lack of food security and the growing population that will need a lot more food. Since 2013, we've established 24 gardens in Cairo, Fayoum, and Marsa Alam. And ever since, we've been performing applied research on how that works best. So the hydroponic system that we have on the roof right now saves up to 90% of water and produces up to 70% more food.
CARES has been working in the country for almost 40 years now. So we are making use of this experience to help the country to achieve the Sustainability Vision 2030. The model is what we call water energy food model. We use the solar energy to produce electricity. We use the electricity to separate the water from the salt. And then we use the water for producing fish. And we use the waste of the fish, which is very important for the crops, and provide us with high-quality organic product.
We give English sessions to children at an orphanage on a weekly basis. Members who are students here at AUC commit to going every Friday to give children English sessions and to help them develop on the academic level.
I think it's become somewhat of a trend in Cairo recently, which is great. We've recently tried starting up a network to connect the different entities that are working in rooftop gardening. And we had private rooftop owners, and those are our project partners from informal areas who came to present their problems, maybe get some feedback from experts or other rooftop owners. We're trying to kind of increase the accessibility of some of the infrastructure that you need.
We are very grateful to the USAID for giving us a grant to establish a center of excellence in Alexandria, serving all the water stakeholders in the country and helping Egypt to achieve its Vision 2030 for sustainable development.
We're members of what is called the Base of the Pyramid Lab Network. We are hosting a conference, and we're stressing frugal innovation. So we're getting actually interesting examples from India. If you get an example that is running, you could document it, and you could help others to copy it, you've done a perfect job.
Right now, we're actually reviving the AUC Student Club to become even stronger than it was before. Helen AUC helped grow Helen to become what it is. We want to give back. So this is our role at the moment, to actually provide mentorship, support, but also empower the students who want to actually lead this to become more effective on campus.
In some villages where I've worked since 2006, people have almost become like family members. Some people in communities are telling me, we don't understand why AUC is doing this for us, but we're very happy. Feeling that you're doing something with people and not just deciding something for them, but actually coming up with ideas together. I think that's very inspiring.
I see a great hope in the next generation. They can make change. Once you put them on the way and you show them what to do, they can do it.
Many people think that they have to change the world in order to make an impact. That's not true. I think just changing one person's life is something that fulfills me, even if it's not the biggest change in the world. A small one counts as well.
You're doing something for others. You're giving back to your community, or not necessarily to your community, you're giving back in general.
Investing in people is a prerequisite to investing in a community. Alshanik Baladi was started by an AUCN. Nahdat al-Mahrusa was started by an AUCN. I could cite you many examples of effective social entrepreneurs that are actually AUCNs.
I owe a lot of who I am today because of this place. Hopefully, before our time in this world ends, we can see that we made an impact that is sustainable and to continuously help more and more people.
The panel discussion will be moderated by Professor Hussam Atiyah, Director of AUC's Academic Community Engagement Program and Senior Instructor of Rhetoric and Composition. Please join me in welcoming to stage Professor Atiyah. Please also join me in welcoming our distinguished speakers, Dr. Raghda al-Ibrashi, Founder and Chairperson of Alashanik Ya Baladi. Mr. Ramiz Yusri, Co-Founder and Managing Director of Helm Egypt. Dr. Dina Ratib, Associate Professor of Management Information Systems and Advisor of Volunteers in Action Student Club at AUC. Ahmed Saeed, Senior Electronics Engineering Student and President of Hand in Hand Student Club at AUC.
Thank you very much for being here. This is a beautiful night. Today our panel discussion is about the 100 years of service, the 100 years of giving, of reciprocity. Our students serve communities that they work with, but I believe one of the advantages of serving a community is actually receiving expertise, receiving real life context of work. And so what AUC students are getting in this institute, I think by far exceeds what I got during my days. Because again, there is an abundant opportunity for them to work in the real world before they even graduate. Our panelists today are Dr. Raghda al-Ibrashi, the founder and the chairperson of Alashanik Ya Baladi. We have Mr. Ramiz Yusri, who's the co-founder and managing director of Helm Egypt. We have Dr. Dina Ratib, the associate professor of management information systems, advisor of Volunteers in Action Student Club, AUC, and one of the founders of the concept of service learning in AUC. Last but not least, Ahmed, the president of Hand in Hand, club at AUC, so I would like to welcome all of them. I'll be handing the microphone to our panelists. There are themes, but let me just tell you that to make this a panel discussion interesting, there's a time limit for every speaker. So 5 minutes for every speaker, and at the end, there's going to be a wrap-up. Please help me welcome our guest speakers. So, welcome back. The topic that we have chosen to discuss is about the role of the university in promoting social entrepreneurship. علشانك يا بلدي and AUC, how would you like to take us on a little journey from that point?
First of all, please let me thank you very much for inviting me to be here. While I'm very much honored to always be back on campus, my campus, and honored to be hosted by the president of the AUC, but let me also tell you something personal about me, that I feel so much honored to be in the same panel with my teacher. Taking this point as the starting point, I entered the AUC in the year 2000, Tahrir campus. Graduated in 2004. This was my first graduation, undergraduate studies. And during my studies, I've been very much inspired by people on campus, by teachers who were pretty much involved in community service in a different format than the community or the Egyptian community at this point in time had known. So Dr. Dina Ratib talking about the development of orphanages, and we're talking about development, not charity, and this was pretty new at this time. We're talking about Dr. Salah Al-Haggar from the Faculty of Engineering. I went with him on a trip to the garbage area, Hayy Zabbalin, and he was working on the transformation of this area with Dr. Laila Skandar, the former Minister of Environment, and Yusriya Loza, and this very big project about recycling. So it was the first time for me to get in contact with such projects. Dr. Salah Harafa, Basaisa in Sharqiyya, also from the faculty of, he was a professor of physics. And I got to know also the projects that he, and he's still doing in Basaisa in Sharqiyya. So, of course, such an environment for a student like me at that time, I was 16 years old. I got very much inspired not only to study, because the AUC is a very much inspiring place to study in a different format. We're not studying by heart, but we always try to analyze things and understand things, but also to serve, and to serve differently. I was actually like pushed by certain power to develop something new. So instead of talking about charity and giving, together with 100 friends from different universities in Egypt, from the AUC, from Cairo University, from Ain Shams University, from Azhar, from Tanta, from Mansoura, from Al-Minya, from different universities in Egypt, we met in Tahrir campus in the Student Union. And we started Aishanik Kebali in 2001 to be the first student movement, as we called it, student movement for the development of slum areas in Egypt. Mind you, in 2001, slum areas, this word was not that much known at that time, except among ministries. And very experienced development experts. And also talking about community development rather than charity, this was something new, at least among students who are 16 or 17 years old. So we started on campus, and it was a national movement, not only involving AUCians, but involving young people from different universities in Egypt, and it was inspired by the AUC, supported by AUC professors, supported by AUC administration. We got all the support in order to get the paper done. I still remember Dr. Negi Shatla was the counselor at that time. He used to write me, actually he taught me how to write Arabic letters. And I used to write ministries in order to get permission in order to start a donation campaign by a student activity, and it was the first time at that time, at this moment. And after graduation, we didn't stop. We registered Ashani Kabaladi as an NGO in 2005, and it was one of the first youth NGOs in Egypt, together with Nahdat al-Mahrusa. And it was one of the first. And what we mean by a youth organization, its board, the age of the board members did not exceed 21 years old. So we started in 2005 as a formal NGO, and we continued working in different universities, and as an NGO we started to spread all over Egypt. And now we have become one of the biggest NGOs in Egypt, thank God. And it all started because of the support of a very responsible institution like AUC. Thank you very much.
My take was that you were pushed, okay? And apparently, the more that you see a kind of activity going on around you, I think you feel that you're pushed to pursue this activity. So the kind of clubs, the service that is ongoing, endless, sustainable here at AUC, it is a culture, I think. And so, yeah, AUC students, day one on campus will feel that there's a lot going on and that they want to join in and do something. Okay. My next speaker is Mr. Ramiz Yusri. And I chose, because Ramiz and I were having this conversation outside, and he spoke about coming back to AUC, reviving the club. So will you talk to us about how it started? And what are your future plans with the club coming back to AUC?
Sure. So, good evening, AUC. So, honestly, it's an honor to be on the same panel with such inspiring speakers and with all of you, so thank you so much. So, Helm, who here knows about Helm? Wow. Okay, that's like I've seen a lot of hands, so yeah. So I'll tell you briefly what Helm is all about. So basically, we work on, our purpose is the inclusion of persons with disabilities in all aspects of life. So we focus on educating, employing, and changing the mindset of persons with and without disabilities to make sure that they have an equal opportunity in the society. It's not just about empowering people with disabilities, because as we see it, people with disabilities don't actually lack power, but what they lack is an ecosystem or a platform that does not hinder them from achieving their full potential. I want to share a personal story about how actually Helm started at AUC. So Amina is actually my co-partner. She's also one of the 100 top alumni of the century. So if you can help me congratulate her, because it has never been done without her. So in 2011, it was during both our last semesters. So Amina went to a semester abroad, and she experienced something called Dialogue in the Dark, where it's a life-changing experience. You go through a walk in a park, you get to ride a boat, you go through a market in complete darkness. And you have a guide who's actually blind. So you go through all of that as if you're someone who's blind. me personally, it was my last semester. I was thinking about my future, my career, what's my next step, and I wasn't really yet involved in doing social change. And then on my last semester, a guy walks in, and he sat right beside me who happens to be blind. And this is where I've seen an organization that respects diversity and inclusion, and it changed my mindset. It's a defining moment in my life that made me reconsider everything. And this is where Amina and I, we met, and we just decided, why don't we just generalize what we've seen here in every organization, in every other university, in every other company, in a lot of other organizations that we see that do not see the benefit of inclusion. Inclusion of persons with disabilities is not charity. It's not just good deed, it's actually good for the university as well. It's good for companies to be diverse, and this is what we promote. If I want to say just one last thing about how I personally why I owe AUC back, is because we started AUC as a club in 2011, where it was very difficult to start an NGO by then. It was very difficult. And we had an umbrella to work under for a couple of years. And then in 2014, we started a nonprofit. In 2016, we started a social enterprise. Since then, we have trained more than 5,000 private and public sector employees on how to be more inclusive. We have trained more than 1,500 persons with different disabilities to join the workforce. And we have audited and modified more than 1,200 locations to become more physically accessible for persons with different disabilities. We are now recognized as one of probably one of the best experts in the field of disability. We've been awarded by the UN in Vienna as one of the best practices in the world, and we're proud that all of this has just started by a seed at AUC. If I learned one thing, I would say that we have learned that AUC is a place where it generates leaders who lead not by authority, but by purpose in life, that you know that you're here not just to survive. That's not our purpose. We're not here just to survive. We're here to survive and grow, and to make sure that we're at peace with what we do while serving others. There's no greater joy than equals the joy of serving others and serving the community. So that's why I owe AUC.
Thank you very much. What a great moment. So inclusivity and the kind of opportunities it can open doors to. Many of us will have, I myself, I teach, and every once in a while I will get a student with disability in my class, and I actually feel proud. This moment is a moment where you can see people who are different, but at the same time are giving the same opportunities as, the average person, which I think is a great thing to have here at AUC. My next speaker is Dr. Dina, and we teach and we see the development on the students. And you have been using service learning in your teaching. What would you say are some of the traits that this service would leave on your students?
Thank you, Raghda, Dr. Raghda, and thank you. Yes, first I am the faculty advisor of Volunteers in Action since 1996-97, but I'm also advisor of Association of Information System Student Chapter since 2010. And as Dr. Raghda said, it is not about just charity, it's development. And that's the first time I learned this was from one of the alums of AUC. Because back in 2000, year 2000, UN was celebrating Year of Volunteerism. And VIA, if you don't know, VIA is dealing only with orphans. So one of the VIAns said, we are not going to just deal with orphans in orphanages, we're going to deal with orphans outside orphanages as well. And this is where we went to meet Auba, to do the very first family planning project ever on campus. And to do that, we could not have done it without 3 of the pillars, alums of AUC. But the 3 of them graduated in the 40s. Aziza Hassin, Aida Gindi, and Maria Assad. And they were the first people to tell me it's not just charity, it's development, just as Dr. Raghda was saying. And of course, Helm is great, because I remember when I was studying in Pittsburgh, where I took my doctorate, we had to teach, not assist the professor, but teach the whole thing. And I had a blind girl in my class, and I did not know what to do with her. And they trained us, so we all need this training. They trained us over there, so this is great initiative. Also, I wanted to talk about, we always had support here at AUC. Support started when President Gerhardt, late President Gerhardt, sent me to the US with another faculty and 3 students and 1 staff. And we went there to see how they are doing service learning and doing this for credit. We learned a lot there. Some of them are doing it throughout the course. Some of them are, if they do it, they take an extra credit for the course. So if it's a 3-credit course, it becomes 4 if you do this added work. And from there, I started trying to push this as well. But in VEA, we do it all the time because we're teaching the students all the time. We go to sessions together, and we teach the orphans. And we also started the recycling idea when we were working with Meet Auba, and we were teaching the women, the single moms of the orphan kids, how to use the cooked oil and do soap out of it. So again, this is another initiative. So I loved it so much. I talked to Maria Assad, and she said, let's do something together. And we started recycling on campus initiative, the paper and everything. I used to send it to APE, Association of Protection of Environment, and she introduced me to Dr. Salah Haggar, you were talking about. And until now, we're still working on it. And another support is just giving you example. President Richard Doni, always, whenever you invite him to orphan, we have orphan weddings here, group weddings, and he always attends. And he even gives us a speech in Arabic, and he talks to the orphan girls, and there's always support, and there is always the fun part out of it. We have more fun than the orphans in the end. We have great fun. They make us laugh all the time. I can tell you stories later on, but I don't want to run out of time to give you enough time to have a minute. Okay. In Meet Auba, they keep asking, where is Heba? I say, she's graduated. Okay, where is Laila? I say, she graduated. So one of the kids say, how come you don't graduate? You're always with us every year. So we have a lot of stories like this. First wedding, the second wedding we did was in Meet Auba itself, but ever since now all the weddings are here because the administration approved the weddings. So I asked in Meet Auba, why do they always ask for a mattress, martaba? Because we give them whatever is missing, the kitchen. They say, well, because in the Egyptian culture, it's never clear if it's the man who gets the mattress or the woman. So the first thing they ask for is the mattress. Things like this. In Meet Auba, for example, we were teaching them when Iraq war was on, and I say, do you know what the capital of Iraq is? They say, what is capital to start with? I will say, okay, capital is where the president is and where you get out official documents. Okay, so let's start with Egypt. What's the capital of Egypt? They say Cairo. And then, but they continue, they say, عاصمة مصر القاهرة وعاصمة القاهرة المجمع. Because this is where the official papers. So we are having more fun than they do. And it's fun, it's a win-win situation, and it's great. And we love them, and they love us. And just a hug or a kiss is more than enough. But of course, we work on doing much more than this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Service is also fun, right? I think our students take away a lot of things by serving the community. The human connections that are created. Also, their ability to see beyond the normal lives that they have, and you know, the bubble. We talk about that bubble all the time, being away from who we really belong to, our community. My next speaker is Ahmed, and Ahmed is going to talk about how is it going on here so far. So tell us about your activities. Tell us about your future plans, expansions, if there are any. Please.
Thank you so much, Ustaz. First of all, I would like to thank you all for this invitation, and I'm really pleased and honored to be a part of this honorable and respectable panel. First of all, I would like to re-mention that my name is Ahmed Saeed. I'm the president of Hand in Hand, but today I'm talking not representing Hand in Hand. I'm representing all student community service entities with our different visions, unique visions and plans and goals. We serve elders, we serve children, we serve elders, we serve children, we serve orphans, we serve refugees, and we serve in other places in Egypt in terms of development to these places. So today I'm talking as a representative of these community service community clubs. Moving to the other point, which is I will talk about something personal that happened to me in my first year. In the first orientation that I had in AUC, they mentioned that in AUC, we gain, when we graduate, we gain 30% of our knowledge from academics, and the other 70% are gained from soft skills. Soft skills that we gain from extracurricular activities. And to be honest, as a freshman, I thought that was meaningless. And I thought that for sure academics will be more important than having these soft skills. But actually, after participating in several entities and several extracurricular activities related to community service and non-related to community service, I found out that there's always a room for development in this soft skills thing. Moving to the most important point, which is community service. In the community service clubs, we think that we always have an extra goal or an extra mile than other entities to serve and give back to the community that we came from. So any entity think that it's perfect to have they feel a sense of success when they have a successful event or when they have a campaign on ground that has like positive responses. But when this event is going back to the community, or when this campaign is for raising awareness, then the sense of pleasure is always multiplied. Okay, so to conclude, I think that we must all thank the AUC for giving us the opportunity to have student entities and specifically to have community service clubs, and giving us support in terms of like giving us exposure for and then to try to express ourselves in events like this. And finally, I would like to thank community service clubs such as Mshwa Khair, Veya, Al Rasif, Glow, Hand in Hand, Star, and I don't want to forget any other entities, but they all do a great job. And the final thing, and last but not least, I want to thank my Hand in Hand team. They are all heroes, and we will do something really good this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. This was quite insightful. Again, don't thank AUC, because if it weren't for the students, it wouldn't have started. I mean, students have initiated many of those services, have initiated many of those clubs. So it is yours, and their development and sustainability are all yours. I would like to thank all of you for being here tonight. I'd like to thank my panelists, the wonderful stories and the wonderful experiences they have shared with us. This is a celebration of 100 years. And I think with the new strategic plan that AUC has, there is a lot of space and a lot of room for improvement on service learning. I think students definitely have a hand in this, demonstrating their needs. Also, getting credit for the work that they do is a nice thing always. Professors always being keen on incorporating service learning into their courses, and our wonderful partners all the time, who happen sometimes to be AUCs, wonderful people who always support us and find meeting points between what they do, what they need in terms of service, and what the students would like to do. With this, I conclude our night today. Thank you very much, and I would like to thank the organizers of this event for their wonderful planning. Thank you. We'll open the floor for questions now. If anyone has a question for the panelists.